Hi, my name is Joey. Wiley Joseph Dollinger III. Please like and subscribe, and welcome to Students of Truth and truthstudents.com. I'm making this video, um, just a personal video for my family and friends. I want to explain a couple of things about understanding this new spiritual psychology that I've been studying for a while. And really, it's alchemy, a couple of aspects of alchemy, how we can apply alchemy, and it's kind of like the Hermetic reconciliation of all paradoxes, right? Acknowledging these immutable, invisible, universal laws. Okay, so check this out. Anything is possible. All right, and link particle physics with this. But there's a couple of things to understand so that we can understand how to apply alchemy and the real magic, the real mysticism or occultism. People have been martyred and crucified for this knowledge, and we're kind of the first generation in humanity, this digital sanctuary for this knowledge to exist. We can discuss these things without being crucified, I hope. So, alchemy, right? This is the real magic, is alchemy. So, anything is possible, okay? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. In particle physics, you think of infinite potential. So Schrodinger's cat, you have a cat in a sealed container with a vial of poison. The question is the cat alive or dead? The answer is the cat exists in both states. The cat exists in superposition until it is observed. This is the observer effect. Okay? It's the same thing. So it exists in both states. It's called superposition. It's alive and dead until it is observed. Conscious is what this whole has, how this pertains with alchemy, spiritual psychology, our perception, our individual perspective, point of view, and the paradigms. So alchemy, anything is possible. Okay, superposition. The cat exists in both states. And what physicists wanted to understand is, when do things go from superposition, infinite potentials, to being solidified, right? The answer is when it's observed. This is the power of faith and belief and human consciousness, right? Alchemy and our higher self and the evolution of consciousness. But it's faith. I'll get there. So alchemy, this is the real magic. This is how you can really raise your vibration, and for people that seek ascension, spiritual enlightenment, these elevated states of consciousness. So alchemy is the real magic. So there's two things to understand about alchemy. One of the 7 Hermetic principles, polarity, the law of polarity, and also relativity. So let's say a couple of things about relativity. The only thing you really have to understand about relativity is that it means it depends on where you're standing. That's what relativity means. It just depends on where you're standing. If you change where you're standing, it changes. So relativity. Einstein proved relativity and special relativity. He also proved, when he proved relativity, something called retrocausality, our ability to affect our present moment by changing our future. This has actually been proved in clinics. Retrocausality, our ability to affect our present moment by changing our future. Okay, again. So when Einstein proved relativity, he proved that time is relative to the surface of the Earth. This was illustrated in the movie Interstellar. So they traveled from Earth to another planet. And in the movie, the astronauts say, for every 1 hour that we spend on this planet, 7 years passes on Earth. In the movie, the astronauts face a catastrophe and have to spend 3 hours on that planet. during that time, the astronauts' children in those 3 hours aged 21 years. It was an illustration of what's called time dilation. Time is relative to the Earth. This is what Einstein proved. Relativity. Time is relative to the Earth. So the further you travel off Earth, the slower time goes. In fact, if you travel at the speed of light, time stops. It's 186,000 miles per second and change. Time stops if you travel at the speed of light. So it gives birth to the twins paradox and the grandfather paradox. If you have identical twins on the surface of the Earth, and at birth you send one into space, when and one twin remains on Earth, the twin that remains on Earth on his 20th birthday, when he's 20 years old, and the spacefaring twin, identical twin, returns, he will not be 20 years old. Time will have gone slower the further he goes from the surface of Earth. In fact, if he goes at the speed of light, then time wouldn't have gone by at all. So this is time dilation. This is relativity. It depends on where you're standing. Time is relative to the surface of the Earth. Relativity depends on where you are standing. The observer effect. Superposition. Anything is possible until it is observed. This is the power of consciousness and faith, what we believe that we know. So subjection means inside your mind or inside your body. Objectionable reality is outside of your mind, outside your body. So we have a subjectionable perspective that we navigate throughout objectionable reality. We observe objects, ideas, and items outside of ourselves or our thoughts, even in ourselves. We observe these things. When we observe something, our observation forms a relationship to that object. Our relationship, that is our observation, becomes our beliefs. Our beliefs are always one of two things, either faith or doubt. Faith creates anticipation, doubt creates anxiety. We believe that we know the things that we know. We have observed them. They're no longer infinite potentials. We've observed them. We know that the cat is whatever the cat was when you opened the box, if it was alive or dead. You see what I'm saying? So this is the way that alchemy works. By changing our perception, I've got to explain polarity. By changing our perception, we learn to see obstacles as opportunities. We learn to see past tragedies as blessings in disguise and valuable experience. We have faith, right? And this is the mental transmutation, okay? By changing the way that we see something. Polarity, the law of polarity in Hermetic alchemy, is one of the 7 Hermetic principles. So it says that everything is dual. Thesis and antithesis are the same. All truths are half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled, but everything is dual. It says that everything has its pair of opposites, but opposites are only different in degree, but not in type. In fact, they're not opposites at all. So if you take any pair of opposites, say hot and cold, love and hate, light and dark, good and bad, they seem like opposites, but they're actually two different observations of the same underlying thing. They're two measurements of the same thing. That's why they're always relative. There's no exact attribute. The statistic when the temperature changes from hot to cold, like 70 degrees is hot and 69 degrees is not hot. That's why there's no set statistic attribute that when they differentiate, because they're relative. I can be in this room and say that it's hot, and someone else can be in the same room and say it's cold. It's relative. That's why love and hate. Think about in between, like when you like someone and the different degrees of when you like and how that changes. Everything on the earth and the physical plane exists in a constant state of becoming. Everything exists in a constant state of becoming. Okay? But polarity, these opposites, they differ in degree but not in type. So, good and bad are relative. When I see something and I say it's good, someone else can look at it from a different perspective, a different way of looking at it, a different perception, a relative perspective, can look at the same thing that I say is good, someone else can say it's not good. They can say it's bad. So good and bad are relative to the individual, to our observation. Things actually aren't good or bad. We decide that they're good or bad. We say that they're good or bad. Um, we decide. We make them good or bad. This is the individual free will. Okay, the higher self, the I, ego, consciousness. So free will, man, doesn't exactly have free will because we are contingent upon, subservient to things like hunger and rest. So you could say, well, a man has free will. Well, no, he doesn't. He can do anything he wants, but he has to eat. Whatever he does is going to be so that he can eat. So in that regard, man doesn't have free will, but in the evolution of our consciousness, actually, in our I, ego, I, because man will be what he wills to be. The Trinity of man, thinking, feeling, willing. So man can be whatever he wants. And in that regard of free will gives birth to the ego. Okay? The ego, what can be proud, is also what is embarrassed. It's actually our personality. It's our I am. This is the higher self. And this goes into subconscious and clinicians and psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, psychology, going back to William James, but way before that. And subconsciousness in hypnosis, hypnotherapy. Excusing Dolores Cannon, but going back to when neurolinguistic programming was discovered in the 70s with the computer scientists at the University of California and the three therapists in neurolinguistic programming, right, in the subconscious, hypnosis, and how that's used in clinicians today, right? So everyone has a subconscious, and they all have these distinctive characteristics, these attributes that are alike. And it goes back to Paracelsus with animal magnetism and hypnosis, constantly taking in all information. But this spiritual psychology and alchemy, I'm trying not to get too off on one particular thing, but really the law of polarity is what it is. So when we see something that's good or bad, it's because we decide that it's good or bad. This is actually the spiritual or higher self. Consciousness, this intrinsic, immaculate, living light that animates our anatomical body, right? You could think of like we are an equally fractionalized aspect of light, like a drop of light from an ocean of light, right? Like it's our perception, our observation. The Buddha taught that there's suffering and the end of suffering. He taught attachments, desires, and expectations, right? He taught supreme truth and relative truth, because everything exists in a constant state of becoming, and even the earth itself constantly changes. And because what is true is relative, what's true for one individual from a different perspective, it doesn't have to be true. But the supreme truth, there's only one truth, right? The supreme truth, everything, because the truth is eternal and unchanging. It cannot change. If it changed, it would not, lest it be not the truth. But because everything on the earth exists in a constant state of becoming, including the earth itself, so truth is to be found nowhere in the world. This is where like the Coptic and Gnostic, the Archons and Yaldabaoth and Pistis Sophia, the story of Sophia, and the like the Matrix. So you have to understand superposition. You can say any argument, but say the Earth is round or flat, right? This is a disagreement, apparently. So some people think the Earth is round, some people think the Earth is flat. The bottom line is that it exists in both states. It exists in both states. To this person, their reality, because of their faith, because they really believe that they know that the Earth is round, so to them, from their perception, they live in a reality where the Earth is round. Okay? But to someone else who believes that the Earth is flat, their life experience, because everyone's life is exclusive and unique, it's equal, but absolutely unique and exclusive, unique education for every individual, but they believe that they know, they have faith that the Earth is flat, and so to that individual, the Earth is flat. So the bottom line is that it's in superposition. It exists in both states, and relativity and how that works, and the law of polarity, relativity, how we can change our perspective, change our observation, change the way that we look at something, and learn to see obstacles as opportunities. Learn to see um, um, past traumatic experiences and bad things that we like have resentments toward. Learn that to change the way that we see that and see them as valuable experiences and a blessing in disguise. Have faith that it's a blessing in disguise, that it's an experience that we needed to go through, and that we couldn't know what we know in any other way. This was our karma, essentially, or our experience, right? So many people identify with the thinking mind. We haven't been taught, so many people have not been taught that we're what consciousness is. We are a state of infinite, we're a state of awareness. We are a state of awareness. We are not our thoughts. Okay? We also exist in a higher self. This is the subconscious, the different in cognitive, waking consciousness, subconsciousness, and super consciousness. Okay? And hypnosis and how that works and the attributes that each individual has, right? It's incredible. I think it's incredible. But how this works, this is true for everyone, right? Um, because we are conscious. So consciousness is, we are a piece of awareness. We are not, I'm not my name. I'm aware of my name. I'm not my body. I'm aware of my body. I'm not my hand or my arm. I'm aware of my hand and my arm and my body. I'm not my thoughts. I'm aware of my thoughts. I'm not my feelings. I'm aware of my feelings. I'm aware of all of these things. And we actually, our higher self is that awareness. This is where inspiration, intuition, ideas, imagination come from. Aesthetics, which is beauty, which is inspired to ascribe beauty to what is otherwise mundane. Moral obligation, ethics. This is the higher aspect of the self. Okay. We so retrocausality, our ability to affect our present moment by changing our future. Einstein proved that with relativity. So, but I'm excited to tell people about alchemy. So, learn to see obstacles as opportunities, right? And that is the real magic. That's how you manifest the. That's how you raise your vibration. That's how you. It's mental transmutation. People have been martyred and massacred for this knowledge because it's real magic. It's how you raise your vibration. Your subconscious. You're a magnet. You attract to yourself what you vibrate. And so if you can take negative things and change them into positive things, because the only thing you have the power over is our perception. We're powerless over people, places, and things outside of ourselves. That's what attachments and desires are, and expectations. Buddha said that's why suffering exists in the world. You know what I'm saying? Because we rely on things outside of ourselves to make us happy, but we're powerless over those things, even though, because we identify with a thinking mind, our state of well-being is contingent on things outside of ourselves. So alchemy is the thing to learn. Obstacles are opportunities. Change the way you see them, and that's what magic is.